Idi Amin once declared, "I am the hero of Africa." With these bold words, Idi Amin Dada marked his place in the annals of history, not just as a leader, but as a figure shrouded in controversy. Born in the northwest of Uganda around 1925, Amin's journey from a mere soldier in the British colonial army to the president of Uganda is a tale of ambition and audacity. His military background laid a robust foundation for his unexpected ascent to power. But how did a former British colonial army soldier rise to become one of Africa's most talked-about figures? The year is 1971. A military coup changes the fate of Uganda forever. On a brisk January morning, the streets of Kampala wake to a new era as Idi Amin, a former British colonial army officer and then commander of the Ugandan army, seizes power from President Milton Obote. The move, bold and unexpected, came while Obote was abroad, attending a Commonwealth summit. Amin capitalized on a growing discontent among the military and civilians alike. Obote's increasingly autocratic rule had alienated many, paving the way for Amin's ascent. Initially, Amin's takeover was met with widespread approval within Uganda. His promise of restoring order and justice resonated with a populace eager for change. Internationally, reactions were mixed. Some countries cautiously watched, while others quickly recognized Amin's government, hoping to maintain favorable relations. This external support emboldened Amin, providing him with the confidence and resources needed to consolidate his power. With the world's eyes turned towards him, Amin's true colors began to show as his regime progressed. Underneath the charismatic exterior lay a brutal dictator. Idi Amin's reign in Uganda, starting in 1971, quickly descended into a dark period marked by severe human rights abuses and economic chaos. Initially hailed as a liberator, Amin's true nature began to surface as his government systematically targeted various groups within society. One of the most consequential policies was the expulsion of Asians from Uganda in 1972. Amin accused the Asian community of economic exploitation and ordered over 80,000 Asians to leave the country. This decision not only led to a significant exodus but also severely disrupted the Ugandan economy, as many of those expelled were integral to its commercial life. Beyond the economic turmoil, Amin's reign was notorious for its brutal suppression of dissent. Political opponents were often met with extreme violence. The state security organizations, including the Public Safety Unit and the State Research Bureau, became feared instruments of oppression. It's estimated that during Amin's 8-year rule, between 100,000 and 500,000 people were killed. These victims included political rivals, soldiers suspected of disloyalty, and ordinary Ugandans who found themselves caught in a relentless purge. The international community watched in horror, yet responses were limited, often muted by Cold War politics. Inside Uganda, the atmosphere was suffocating, as the unpredictability of Amin's directives left many in a constant state of fear and uncertainty. The charm soon faded, revealing a regime marked by fear and violence. Isolated internationally, the walls began to close in around Idi Amin. As the 70s drew to a close, the once formidable dictator found his grip on power waning dramatically. Support from his key allies, who had once bolstered his regime, evaporated as the global community increasingly denounced his brutal policies. The tipping point came with the ill-fated invasion of Tanzania in 1978. Amin's ambition to annex the Kagera region backfired spectacularly, sparking a full-scale war. The Tanzanian response was swift and decisive. With superior tactics and international backing, Tanzanian forces pushed back, eventually crossing into Ugandan territory. By April 1979, the situation had deteriorated beyond repair. Kampala, the capital, fell to the advancing Tanzanian troops and Ugandan exiles eager to reclaim their country. In the chaos, Amin's rule crumbled. The man who had once declared himself conqueror of the British Empire now faced his own inexorable defeat. Defeated and despised, Amin fled Uganda, leaving a nation in ruins. From ruler to refugee, Amin's final years were spent far from the country he once dominated. After being ousted in 1979, Idi Amin found sanctuary in Saudi Arabia. The once fearsome leader lived a surprisingly quiet life in Jeddah, a sharp contrast to the brutality that marked his rule in Uganda. In exile, Amin was largely cut off from the world he once engaged with so forcefully. He resided in a comfortable but not lavish home, provided for by the Saudi government, which sought to keep him out of the public eye. His days were spent in relative obscurity, a stark departure from the pomp and circumstance of his presidency. Despite his notorious past, Amin's interactions during his exile were mostly with his immediate family and a few loyalists who had followed him into exile. The global community meanwhile showed little interest in the former dictator. Idi Amin died on August 16, 2003, in Jeddah. His death was met with little fanfare, reflecting his diminished presence on the world stage. A quiet end for a man who once roared on the global stage. Idi Amin's story is a stark reminder of the complexities of power and leadership. His rule, marked by extreme brutality and a disregard for human rights, left a deep scar on Uganda. The economic turmoil and societal fragmentation that ensued under his regime had lasting implications, not just for Uganda but for the entire region. The international community's response, or at times the lack thereof, speaks volumes about the global challenges of dealing with dictators who commit gross human rights violations. Amin's reign highlighted the critical need for international mechanisms to respond more effectively and timely to prevent such atrocities. Reflecting on Amin's dictatorship, it becomes evident how vital it is for nations to cultivate strong institutions that uphold justice and human rights. The lessons from his rule underscore the importance of international cooperation in fostering stability and peace, ensuring that no nation feels isolated in its struggle against tyranny. Idi Amin's life challenges us to reflect on the shadows of history and the enduring quest for justice and accountability. From a soldier to a dictator, Idi Amin's journey is a cautionary tale of unchecked power. As we have explored, Amin began his career in the British colonial army, climbing through the ranks with a mix of charisma and brute force. His rise to power in 1971, through a military coup, marked the beginning of a regime characterized by profound human rights abuses and economic decline. Throughout his rule, Amin's government was responsible for the deaths of an estimated 300,000 people, a chilling testament to the dangers of authoritarian governance. His leadership style, often erratic and ruthless, led not only to domestic turmoil but also to Uganda's international isolation. Amin's story serves as a stark reminder of the complexities of leadership and the profound impact it can have on a nation's trajectory. It encourages us to reflect on how historical figures are remembered and the lessons they leave behind. As we look back on the life of Idi Amin, let us learn from the past to better navigate the complexities of today's world.